having a great summer. I know I am. I'm living at the CCH Girls House with Kata, so it's just Kata and I here in this big house, and I'm an intern at Cleo Cafe. So basically what I do is I do like their social media and some event planning, some public relations stuff, a little bit of marketing, but not a whole ton of that. And I actually just started training as a barista 3 days ago, so that's been really exciting and it's been a really fun experience. I haven't learned how to make all the drinks yet, but it has been a good time. So this week, what I'm going to get into on this video is chapters 23 through 25 of Exodus, which is just basically an extension of what happened last week. There were a lot of rules in chapters 21 and through 22, and it's basically the same for the chapters that I have. But I think it's really important to remember that for more than 400 years, God had been silent, and the Israelites didn't know him. It says that a lot of times throughout the reading, that the Israelites didn't know God, but they would know God. And he shows himself through the different events that we've talked about already, but he also gives them all these rules, and it sounds like a lot, but when you know nothing, these were actually going to be really helpful and really beneficial for them. So some parts that stuck out to me that I want to talk to you about, I'm going to begin in chapter 23, is that even if the specific scenario that these rules were given in aren't super applicable to our lives, the basic principle behind them is. So we see in chapter 23, it says, do not follow the crowd in doing wrong. It says, do not oppress a foreigner. You yourselves know how it feels to be a foreigner because you were foreigners in Egypt. And it says, if you see a donkey or someone who hates if you see the donkey of someone who hates you and it's fallen down, then you need to stop and help them. So you're probably not going to see a donkey laying down on the street at trying, but the basic principle of like giving generously and helping people out, even if they're not your favorite people, that's still super applicable to today. So I think that's really important for us to remember, and that these things aren't just things that don't matter anymore. And another thing that I want to talk to you guys about is later on in chapter 23, God tells Moses that he's preparing a way for his people and they're going to go to this promised land. But he says it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take even more than just a single year. He says, I will not drive them out in a single year because the land would become desolate and the wild animals are too numerous for you. And he says, little by little I will drive them out before you until you've increased enough to take possession of the land. And that's really awesome because so often we want God's plan to just happen at the snap of our fingers and we think that we know best. But God is looking out for them here, and he knows that just like basic geography and like the land and like the animals that are already there, that's going to be too much for them. So it's going to take time, and that's really a hard thing for us to grasp sometimes, but I think it's super important to remember. And then chapter 24 and 25 again are extensions, just a lot of rules again. One of the things I wanted to point out, there's a lot happening in chapter 25 and a lot of weird stuff that doesn't really make sense if you don't understand like the meaning behind them. He says make 4 golds of rings and use acacia wood and make a lampstand with 7 lamps, and so it's all really hard to understand, but I think that's okay, and I'm super excited to just learn more about that. I know a lot of times we get hung up on we read a passage, we don't get it, and we just get kind of like stressed out about it, so we skip over it. But I've actually been following along with Ashley McNary on Right Now Media. She has a video series that I've been following along with, and it's been super helpful and beneficial in just showing me things that I wouldn't have understood before and digging deeper into things that I wouldn't have understood before. So if you're someone who maybe hasn't even started doing the Exodus study, or you've read it but you're not really understanding, that's okay, and I want to just encourage you to find something that works for you. YouTube it if you don't have access to Right Now Media, or ask your church pastor if you if they do that, because that's usually done through churches. Or just reach out to someone close to you and ask them if they know any good resources that would be beneficial for you to use. Just don't get caught up thinking that you can't, that it's not okay to learn more. That's definitely okay. That's definitely the whole point of doing this study this summer. So anyway, we're super excited for what's happening and what we've read so far in this study, and we hope to see you in a couple weeks at NSC. If you have any questions about going or whatever, feel free to reach out to any of the staff or the rep group members. I hope you have a great rest of your summer.